Hello class, this is Professor Taya Nicolaitis, and I'm making this video regarding our final research essay, the research essay and the related assignments. So we're writing a research paper. The research we'll be doing, or the topic you'll be selecting, will be inspired by one of the plays. So of the assigned plays that we have in our course, pick the one that caught your attention the most. And then we will be using our literary approaches such as feminist, Marxist, historical, biographical, sociological, psychological, etc. Anything that you think would be the most interesting for you to do your research. The primary focus primarily on one or two of the approaches, like biographical or historical, feminist or historical, etc. But if you find that one is enough, then stick to just one. One of the things I have emphasized throughout this course is to really focus on one particular topic, diving deep into the work by using either one literary lens or one of the literary elements. So we really want to be focused. We don't want to do too much and then not cover enough. So as an example, since this is a research essay, your primary focus will be your research. You can use your play as an example. If you choose to write, for example, about identity and society, that is what your essay is about, and the play A Doll's House can be an example to support your findings. These are the steps. First, you begin by, again, picking a play that you like the most, looking at the play itself, picking a topic. Then you begin your research, and then after you've done your research, you'll begin planning out your essay. The research will be done primarily from the library database and any additional reliable internet sources. You will be completing an annotated bibliography of 10 sources from the library database related to your topic. We'll have an outline, and the final essay will be 5 to 7 pages, MLA style, and minimum of 5 sources from the library database. Going back into our week in review, I want to walk you through one more of these content pages. So I have here like a brainstorming of possible topics that might be helpful for you for this essay. So, and again, you can use any of these topics that you find interesting or come up with your own. So, for example, the play Trifles, we can look at it from a biographical perspective, a historical perspective, or feminist perspective. These are just 3 of the different approaches that you can pick. One of the interesting things about this play is that it was the playwright, Susan Glaspell. She was a reporter before she became a playwright. So when she wrote, she actually wrote this play based on a case that she covered. And she realized the injustice of the system, the jury system, and how, women, the way that women were treated at that time. And she based this play on it. So definitely for this play, there's something to be said about the biographical aspect of it, because the author's personal life did overlap into the subject of the play. You can also look at it from a historical perspective, looking at the time period, what rights did women have at that time, and from a gender perspective, you can look at what roles were they expected to fill, and also what roles did men have. So there are many other topics you can pick from this, but just to give you an idea about how to get started. So the research topics would be these final results. This is just the steps to get us to this last the topic itself. And when you write about these topics, the first one implies that you would be using the play, but the next 2, they could be written solely from a historical perspective based on research without using the play itself. It's just the topic itself that you're getting based on the time period that the play was written. We can continue on with the other 2 examples that we have in here, but you have access to them, so I will let you review this on your own. But just to give you a starting point on how, an idea about how do you get to the topic inspired by a play. So what you'll see is we will be, after you pick your topic, you'll be writing an annotated bibliography. We've done an annotated bibliography before, but it's always a good refresher. This one is 10 articles from the library database all 10 sources, again, from the library database, and then the formatting for the assignment, alphabetical order, MLA style formatting, double space with hanging indentation. Some of the general databases that might be helpful: Academic One File by Gale, Academic Search Complete by EBSCO, Biography in Context, OmniFile. There's so many more. There's some history-based ones, psychology-based ones, so many different databases that are worth exploring. And when it comes to the annotated bibliography, I have a template built into this page as well as a sample. One of the things you want to keep in mind are what are you supposed to be annotating in for each article. So I'll go ahead and open up my template. The template, the examples I have in the template, I just took works cited from different articles that are not related to our assignment. It's just basically to give you a starting point that has the format and just a reminder of what kind of content you should be putting into your annotations. To annotate is to take notes on something. So you're annotating a list of sources. And so here, for example, this would be your works cited. You would write or copy it from the database. Continues. And then here's where your annotation would start. So first you would write a summary of the source. 2, 3 sentences, depending on the length of the article. Begin with a summary. Then you would assess your source. An assessment is basically, what type of source is it? Is it a good source? Is it a valid source? How do you know? What type of, what do you know about the authors? Is the article well documented? Is it, does the author seem like a qualified, like a person who's qualified to be writing about the subject? Is it a scholarly article, popular, or some of both? Finally, you would do a reflection on the article. The reflection is, at times, it's one of the most important parts of your annotation. The reflection is basically almost like a note to yourself on how useful was this for you and why. And one of the things that you'll notice is that out of 10 sources, maybe half of them will not be useful for your subject. And yes, you should include those in your annotated bibliography as well. Why is that important? Because when you sit down to do your paper, you already have your research done, and you have this note to yourself about, yes, it's useful, no, it's not useful, and why. And that way you don't have to go back and try to re-find new sources, and chances are high that you'll end up stumbling across the same sources that you already found, and then have to come to the same conclusion about that they're not useful. So in order to save yourself time and energy, which is something that we always want to save, just make sure that you include those articles that work, the articles that do not work in your annotated bibliography, and include that detailed reflection about why and how you think you can use this article in your essay. Your annotated bibliography should be in hanging indentation. So the first line is aligned with the margin, and all the rest of the text is indented. The page continues with more information on how to gather your sources and how does an annotated bibliography help me. So basically, this is one of the steps in the research process, that after you finish this course, you take this tool with you. Gathering your sources, annotating your sources will save you so much time. When you sit down to write your paper, you don't have to try to go back and do research. Researching and writing at the same time is extremely time consuming and mentally draining. So if you do one step at a time, then you already have all your materials gathered. All you have to do is sit down and organize your paper, where are you going to put your sources, etc. So this is a great tool that you can take with you. One of the other related assignments that we will be working on alongside the annotated bibliography is your topic and tentative thesis statement. A thesis statement is a topic and the purpose of writing about that topic. It is the one sentence that kind of, think of it like an umbrella. It covers the entirety of your essay, and it really sets up the structure of your essay, of what it is that you're talking about and why it is significant. This final essay will be an argument style essay. So you are making a statement that you are going to prove throughout the body of your essay. So again, you can select a topic based on or inspired by one of the assigned plays. Your thesis statement should be specific, it should state a clear topic and purpose for writing this topic, and it should cover the entirety of the essay. A definite topic and a tentative thesis statement. It is tentative because sometimes, many times, when we sit down to write our essays, our thesis might shift or adjust or expand or any kind of variation. Maybe sometimes you realize like, oh, I wanted to write a little bit more about different, this, and this. Well, then expand your thesis when you get to your outline or your essay. But anyway, this is a good starting point. At least you have a focus, what it is that you're talking about and why you think it's significant, or what it is that you're going to prove about it. Here's some examples that I give here. So I said a possible formula for this thesis would be something like, if you're using the play, in this play, the author uses blank to show blank because of blank. So for example, in Oedipus the King, Sophocles uses cosmic irony to show that regardless of what positive things Oedipus did in his life, he would fulfill his fate because of all the efforts the other characters did to avoid their fate. Therefore, he is not to blame for the outcome of his life. Based on this thesis statement, some of the research topics might be regarding different ideas of fate around the world or in ancient Greece. They also might, do some. You might do some research about cosmic irony in the Greek drama, history. There's different things that you can poke around with this sort of topic. I really just look at research about Oedipus the King, the play itself, and just how it aligns with the universal kind of idea of that time. If you're not using the play, your thesis could still show something like, this idea shows blank because of blank. So in ancient Greece, the plague of Athens was as devastating as the plague featured in Oedipus the King. In fact, Sophocles' play Oedipus the King can serve as a historical documentation of the plague, along with other ancient texts. The description of this plague is significant because it provides descriptions of the plague that lead to the downfall of the Greek Empire. So in this whole part, this last part is the thesis statement. I just included this other part to kind of help you see the step-by-step thought process on how we could get here. So using this thesis statement, if you're more interested in like sciences or microbiology, you can look at different descriptions of plague and how they've basically impacted history, how they've changed the course of, let's say, like, for example, the Greek Empire. This plague of Athens that I mentioned in here, it was the beginning of the end of the Greek Empire. So you can look at that, for example, just throughout history, different major plagues and the impact that they had on their societies at the time and so on. So anyway, the idea is that a lot of interesting topics you can derive from any of the plays, and this is just two very specific examples. You can go on into any of the other plays and look at how they basically the different research topics. So here we're talking about our thesis statement. Again, it's tentative. It definitely can change, and so just keep your open mind and open ideas about what you can possibly write about. So as the weeks progress, we'll work through the tentative thesis and annotated bibliography, as well as a formal outline and the final essay. So just as you work through it, if you have questions, you definitely know that you can reach out to me. And this week I include resources about how to create a formal outline, a video on how to write an outline and write a research essay, as well as a template for the outline. That again, it's not meant to confine you. It's meant to serve as a starting point where you can plug in your information that you need in order to organize the bones of your essay before writing. If you have any additional questions, you know how to find me, but please make sure that you go through all of the lecture materials that I provided in order to get a detailed understanding of final assignment and all the steps leading up to it. Happy researching!